Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is PassioKnit Kelsie and this is the first video in my Absolute Beginner series. So this series is going to be teaching you how to crochet from an absolute beginner perspective, as in someone who has never picked up yarn or a hook in their entire lives. So I'm going to be going really slow. I'm going to be explaining everything from the very beginning and hopefully you will learn something new. So we're going to start our journey in the yarn aisle at Walmart. The first thing we're going to need to do is pick out a yarn you want to start with. I always recommend Red Heart Super Saver for beginners. It's just like the most basic yarn and you can find it pretty much anywhere. So the important part here is picking out your yarn first. We're going to look at our yarn label and figure out what hook size we need to use. As you can see, this specific yarn says to use a 5.5 millimeter hook, also known as an eye hook. We're gonna head on over to our hook section to look for that 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. There are a lot of options to look at, but if you're a beginner, I would recommend getting just a regular metal hook. They tell you what size they are, usually at the bottom, somewhere at the top on the hook. Just look for that, make sure it matches up with what you chose for your yarn. If we're going to be crocheting, we're obviously going to need some scissors. So I personally like the little ones just because I think that they're perfect for snipping the yarn really quick. But you can obviously get whatever you want. The last thing you're going to need are these yarn needles. They're just sewing needles, but bigger. So I've got my yarn picked out. I went with the Mainstays 100% acrylic yarn. That's just a basic Walmart brand. If you turn this, I have a 7-ounce ball with 397 yards. This is a worsted weight, which is also a 4 weight. Those are the same thing. And over here, it tells me what to use. So if I were going to be knitting, I would need to use a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle. See how it says 5.5 right here, and then there's a picture of knitting needles. We're going to be crocheting, so this says 5.5 right here, and then there is a picture of a crochet hook. So I need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and that is what I have right here. So on your crochet hook, they usually tell you what size they are. This says 5.5 millimeters, also known as an eye hook. Those are the same thing, interchangeable. You can say whichever you want. This is a Clover or More hook, if you're wondering what the brand is. This is also called an ergonomic hook because of the rubber handle right here. So now that I have my yarn and my corresponding hook size, I can go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do before ever combining your yarn and your hook is you're going to need to learn how to do a slip knot. So the easiest way to do a slip knot is to take your yarn. I'm going to grab it with my right hand. I'm going to bring it around and make a loop. Just real simple. Take our yarn, lay it out on a table. That's probably the easiest place. Bring it around and make a loop. After you have done that, we're going to take our fingers and I'm going to go through the back of the loop like this. I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to grab this other piece of yarn. So the long end, the one that should be connected to the ball of yarn. I'm going to grab that and I'm just going to pull that through. So, starting at the beginning, we're going to take our yarn, wrap it around, make a loop. I'm going to take my pincher fingers, I'm going to go through the back of the loop like so, and I'm going to grab my long end of yarn like this. I'm going to pull that through. So once you pull this tight, it's going to make a little knot. This is called a slip knot because even though it's in a knot, you can still slip this to make it bigger or smaller. So if I need to make it bigger, I can just pull on this. The loop will get bigger. If I need to make it smaller, I can pull on this end. The loop will get smaller. So after you have that done, we're going to take our hook, we're going to put it through our loop, and we are going to make it smaller so that it fits just around the hook. Not too tight. We still want our hook to be able to move freely and have a little bit of space. Once you get to this point, we are going to decide how you want to hold your yarn and how you want to hold your hook. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to be holding my hook in my right hand. And I hold my hook with my thumb right here on the thumb pad. And I just hold it sort of like this in my fingers. And I have a special thing that I like to do. I always take my pointer finger and I use that to sort of guide this loop while I'm working. You don't have to do that. You could just leave your pointer finger down here on the handle, but this helps me. So from here, we're gonna find out what to do with our yarn hand. So I personally take my pointer finger, I put it under the yarn, take my rest of my fingers and I just put it over the yarn and sort of hold it. This is a really simple hold. It works for me, but some people like to have a little bit of extra tension. So some people will put it over their pinky as well, like so. Some people like to wrap it all the way around their finger. Some people like to wrap it around multiple fingers, and you can do whatever way works best for you. So I'm just going to wrap it around my pointer finger like this. And this is how I will be working on my projects. Now, I like to hold the yarn with my pinky finger and my ring finger, just because you do need a little bit of tension. You need it to not just completely come off whenever you pull on it. Whenever you pull on it, you want it to have a little bit of a tug, but you could pull it easily if you wanted to. I use my middle finger and my thumb to hold my project in place. I know that might be a lot, but I'm just gonna go over my pointer finger. I'm gonna grab it with my pinky finger and my ring finger. So I'm doing like a little peace sign right now. I'm gonna rotate my hand, and these two are just gonna come together. I'm gonna use my middle finger and my thumb to hold the end of my yarn. So this is what we're looking at right now. Once you have sort of a comfortable position that you found that you like, we're gonna start the first process of every crochet project, well, most every crochet project, and that is called a chain stitch. So we're gonna wrap the yarn around our hook, and we're going to touch the back of our hook first, like that, and then we're gonna touch the front of our hook. So the yarn is going around the back and then the front. And then from here, I'm going to turn my hook so that the tip of my hook is pointing down. And that'll be much easier so that when you pull this through, it will naturally grab your yarn for you. So here I am in my hold. Now I'm going to wrap my yarn back and then front. I'm going to make sure my hook is pointing downwards, and then we are going to grab this loop. We're going to be pulling it through this loop on our hook. So we're going to pull it all the way through. Now I'm just holding my hook like this so that it's very easy for you guys to see, but normally I would still be holding it like this. So I have one loop on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn back, front, point my hook down, and then pull all the way through so that this loop actually comes off and over the end of my hook like that. Now we don't want to drop this one because then otherwise your yarn wouldn't be connected to your hook anymore. So after we have got the first loop off of our hook, we're going to push this down so that we're kind of back to where we started. And we're just going to repeat this process. So I'm going to wrap my yarn back and then front. I'm going to turn my hook downwards, and I'm going to pull this all the way through until that first loop closest to my right hand is going to come all the way over and off. And then I'm going to push this down and I'm going to start over. So I'm going to wrap back, front, turn my hook downwards, pull all the way through until it comes off, and then I'm going to take this down and start over. Wrap back, front, point your hook downwards, pull it all the way through until it comes off, pull this back down and start over. So this is what your chain should look like. Mine looks pretty uniform because I've been doing this for a long time, but yours might look a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller in some areas. It might have big loops, might have tight loops, and that's okay. Just keep practicing your chain until yours looks somewhat like mine. But if your chain starts getting too long, all you have to do is take your hook out and pull on your longer side of yarn, and it will come all the way back out. So I would just keep pulling this out until you get back down to your base slip knot, put your hook back in, and then you can start over from there. So you can wrap, point down, pull through, wrap, point down, pull through. You can keep doing that over and over again until you got the hang of it. And that is how to do a chain. So I'm going to stop right there for this tutorial. I'm going to be continuing making more tutorials on how to do different kinds of stitches, but definitely practice this over and over again until you have a good grip of it, because this is one of the most important things in crocheting. So have fun with that, and just keep working at it. Good luck, and I hope you learned a little bit of something in this tutorial. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.